own teacher was the DJ. Basketball started their season last week against South Fork and with tournaments. The Murray and Monroe cross-country team were honored at the end of the year banquet. It was great to see the two middle schools come together and have such a successful year. Almost half of the athletes earned Scholar Athlete Awards. Our music program held their winter concerts on Tuesday night. It was great to see all of the students and their families enjoy the evening. The students have come a long way, and we look forward to their continued progress. Finals were yesterday, and today which wrapped up the fall semester. Tomorrow we will be doing holiday activities and hold a variety show and fall pep rally. From all of our Mustangs, happy holidays and happy New Year's. We look forward to seeing you in 2022 for the second semester. Go Mustangs. Next is Monroe Middle School. Cross Country has had their year-end celebration this month, and not only was each student recognized for participation and improvement, but special coach awards were given. Almost 3/4 of the students were recognized as high-achieving student athletes by earning 3.8 or above cumulative GPA. All 4 basketball teams are regularly practicing 4 times a week. So a special thanks to coaches Ralph and Rick for leading these hardworking students. Their first games begin the week we return from holiday. The music groups recognized the beautiful performances during their concerts last week, and it was nice to again have families on campus being able to participate. The book fair raised more than $1,000 for purchases, repairs, and creating new digital resources for students on our site. Thank you, families, for investing in a lifelong skill that your students will treasure in both work and recreation. The Winter Fantasy Dance last week also had some great moves demonstrated last Friday, but students also recognized a boy and a girl in each grade level for most responsible and most kind-hearted. In spirit of giving, staff, families, and local businesses donated hundreds of dollars in prizes to students' PBIS reward stores. One example is the bicycle donated by our local PD. Some students shared with staff that they were in turn giving these tangible rewards as gifts during this holiday season. Great work, James Monroe and Ridgecrest, in finding a way to cultivate positivity during a difficult time. We hope all our families have a wonderful time during the winter break and look forward to a safe return in the new year. Next is Mesquite High School. We are busy this holiday season. We had a very successful school-wide Christmas for Kids coin drive. Our school raised $400, and we were able to sponsor 3 local children and provide them with necessities and gifts for Christmas this year. ASB planned a week of spirit days, including Comfy Cozy Day, Christmas Accessory Day, Red and Green Day, and Rep Your Favorite Christmas Movie Day. In lieu of our annual Christmas luncheon for students, this Friday our ASB will provide students with cookie decorating in their 7th period classrooms. Our students continue to volunteer at the St. Michael's Food Bank once a month, helping our community members in need. We had Sergeant Smothers, career counselor from the Army National Guard, come to meet with our students who took the ASVAB in November. He assisted them in interpreting their scores and matching with various careers to meet their strengths. We are continuing to increase our graduates with a total of 6 this year so far. Lastly is Burroughs High School. Before Thanksgiving break, we had Y2K Day on November 19th, in which students dressed like they were from the early 2000s. Since break, Burroughs has been busy with winter sports starting up. Boys and girls soccer, basketball, and wrestling have had preseason games. ASB has also sold jinglegrams for a week when students could send some candy with a note to a friend for $1. Another successful SAT testing was held on December 4th. Drama Company performed a 1-act play on December 3rd. The band, choir, and orchestra all had their wonderful holiday concerts on December 7th and 8th. The band also played at Santa's Art Shop and in the Christmas parade last weekend. ASB sponsored a holiday tree competition where 18 groups decorated trees in a variety of fashions, and the school was able to vote on their favorite and most creative. Friends of Rachel did their annual coat collection and collected over 250 coats. CSF collected non-perishable items that were donated to the Salvation Army. Ugly Sweater Day was on December 10th, and PJ Day was on December 14th. Yesterday was our first day of finals, and as we enter the last day of the semester tomorrow, we hope all have a wonderful winter break and New Year. These are my reports.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Next, it brings us to reports from members of the board. Dr. Houck?
I got a few things. One, I wanted to highlight something that Hannah brought up, the cross country. I got to go to the cross country banquet. My son was running there, and one of the things they highlighted is that, we've got several things like basketball and these sports where the middle schools go against each other, and the cross country is maybe unique, and I just didn't know it, that it's the two schools together as one. They call themselves M&M, and that's been going on really strong. They went from like 15 students over 6 years. Now they've got over 60 students participating, and that's all with volunteers, where the other sports, I guess, I don't know, but I know that those dads have put an awful lot in, and a mom this year, and I wanted to express thanks and highlight what a neat thing we've got, and the idea of putting whatever we can support into that program, I think, is super powerful. I had another thing I wanted to say thank you, the CSBA conference, being able to get to go to the CSBA conference after I've been here for a year and learn more about school boards and really get a good feel, I don't know a good feel necessarily, but here in Ridgecrest, sometimes we're so isolated and we can get so focused on specific things that are important to us that we sometimes lose sight of the fact that when you go out and meet other districts, you learn that the little things that might bug us here, we're really lucky. We do a really good job. I remember that when I worked at the schools as well, when we'd go out and realize there's a lot of stuff going on, and our community might not necessarily recognize the other guys here on the board, all four of you, Mike, Scott, not being here, that they're well respected throughout the state as well and set some real strong examples. And I felt coming away from there very fortunate to be able to join the board and work with you all on many things. And then there were a couple things from this that struck me that I just wanted to highlight and make sure we don't forget. The keynote speaker, the first one, right? Victor Rios, he told a story about Mrs. Ruff and really focused on the value that our teachers have for our communities and how we can get hyper-focused on our students, and we need to be, but we need to never forget that our teachers and our other staff, they're making a difference. And there are students out there that years later, their life turned around because of something a teacher did, and that teacher didn't even know that. And I think that's part of our responsibility, is to always remember that, recognize it, and support that as much as we can. And then the other keynote, I know I'm talking a long time, but I got a lot out of this, that there was a panel of student school board members. And the message that they had was, I think, really powerful. And a lot of it, for me, I remembered, is the power of student voice. And that's something that I think it would be really neat in our community if we got to see more student voice interacting with us, even if it's just during public comment or whatnot, that we get to hear what's important from the students as well. So a couple things that I felt were really powerful from getting to go. And again, thank you. Getting to go and spend the time and learn. After doing this for a year, I definitely enjoy getting to do this and would like to be able to keep doing it. So thank you.
Thank you. Tim?
Thanks, Dr. Howe. I just want to follow on. We all attended California School Board Association last weekend, or 2 weekends ago. Once again, great opportunity to meet with other boards from around the state. It was nice to be in person. As we all know, personal interaction is very important. And I truly appreciate everybody that came tonight that comply with the rules so we can actually hear your public comment and actually have a meeting in public that we can actually hear from the public and see what's on people's minds. So thank you.
Mr. Rockwell. Maybe. I unplugged that.
You did. You got nothing to say. Yeah, I'll pile on the CSBA. Yeah, thanks, Bill. Can I go back and forth?
Take two, they're small.
I have to admit, CSBA is is always a valuable experience. This one was especially good. I mean, after taking a year off, it was great to. see the kind of effort that went into the various sessions. It was interesting. I was able to go to one. There were two sessions to me that were should have been huge and crazy, and they put them in the smallest room. One was on critical race theory. One was on vaccine mandates. And for some reason, they wanted to keep those discussions really small. I didn't get to squeeze into the vaccine mandate discussion. I did get to go into the critical race theory discussion. I learned a lot. It was good, and we'll see how all that kind of plays out. But again, good thing, and echoing what Chad said. We don't toot our own horn very much, but it's amazing the dysfunction that is out there in school boards all over the state, probably all over the country. So it's gratifying that we are a group that actually works well together, and most of the time enjoys being around each other. So we're fortunate in that. And the other thing I'll echo was, Chad mentioned that Victor Rios talked about this teacher, Mrs. Ruff, and I think it's like all you teachers really understand it, but it came through real strong. And this one is, this teacher kind of saved this guy's life, and she didn't even know it until decades later, certainly a decade later, when he wrote a book, and there was a chapter in the book called Mrs. Ruff. And so, he got her a copy of the book or whatever, and it wasn't until then that she realized what a significant impact she had in his life. So I know that's something that you all experience from time to time, but I hope you don't forget that every day you're making a difference in somebody's life, and it's may not be as obvious to you as it is to them, but it's good stuff, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Kurt. I did want to reference a couple of things, and Hannah mentioned some of them. It's really nice to see some elements of normalcy returning to school life, and the kids being able to perform for their parents and for the public, and looking at the fact that we've reached the point of semester. We've made it halfway. I think we all recognize that it's been a very strenuous halfway. I'm hopeful that we can take this next couple of weeks and folks can catch their breath, and I guess I'm also hopeful that as we approach the second half, maybe we can catch a few breaks here and there, so that some of this load lightens. I think we're all aware that it's been tough for everybody. Speaking to the conference, I do want to share my thoughts and my appreciation for the support that the board and the district has given me in allowing me to participate in the CSBA leadership. And I think it's also very critical that we continue our professional growth and development by attending these kinds of conferences to keep us up to date on what indeed is happening in the state of California, and identifying for us what areas we need to keep focused on so that we can continue to offer excellence to our kids throughout the year, and advocate for those important things that can allow us to do what we do better all the way across the board. So thanks for your participation and your support in that. And I think that pretty much says all I have to say, and I will turn it over to Dr. Ostesh for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. I would say regarding that CSBA conference, that the fact that all 5 board members and I attended to go learn, that would be good enough. But actually, it's more than that. We actually presented a session. Mr. Rockwell and I co-presented on a session, and with Mr. Johnson and Mr. Ferris at the delegate and state level, we have board members on CSBA board members who are providing leadership and helping shape things at the state and regional level. And so I just wanted to compliment our board that, like I said, it would be good enough if all 5 went to learn and contribute in that way. But we take it to another level with the contributions we make, and I appreciate the leadership on the board for that. So moving on to some of the things that I'd like to share with everyone tonight in public. As always, the attendance report, month 3 enrollment is at 5,002 students. Last year this time we were at 4,897, so we're up 105. And we have 119 students enrolled in our long-term independent study program, which is down a couple from last month. I will highlight that sounds sort of average for us because I've been reporting on this a few months now, but it is a bit exceptional that our enrollment is staying strong because many districts across the state are experiencing diminished enrollment numbers, so we're grateful that we're able to serve our community the way we are. I want to congratulate a few of my team members on cabinet. Some great things going on. Donnie Morrison, who's in the back running technology, he's our CTO, our Chief Technology Officer, and recently he graduated among the top of his class from the Chief Technology Officer and Mentor program, training program. Not only did Donnie excel in the curriculum and share passionately at cabinet meetings when he would travel up to Sacramento and be a part of this, but he also now has a great community of support. He's extended his network with colleagues and mentors, like I said, throughout the state. So I think that bodes well for our district. The program is managed, this program he was a part of is managed and sponsored by California IT and Education, known as SITE. But it's supported by the California Department of Education, the Fiscal Crisis and Management Assistance Team, FCMAT. Those in our industry know that's a very prominent organization. And the California County Superintendent's Educational Services Association, CSESA, which is the kind of the equivalent of CSBA for school districts for the county superintendent. So it's a very prominent program that he completed, and it was almost an entire year, and I appreciate those efforts and his success. I also want to congratulate our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction. It's now Dr. Michelle Savko for earning her Doctor of Education and Leadership on November 29 of this year. So just very recently from the American College of Education. The program entailed a focus on educational leadership, research, and the concentration area of curriculum and instruction. The purpose of her research, mentorship and career advancement, California Women Superintendent Perceptions, a qualitative explanatory case study, was to investigate the perceived role and influence of mentorship on the career advancement of California women administrators who have successfully attained the superintendency. And I know she worked so hard on this and has contributed to that body of research. And I know it's been a lifelong dream of Michelle's, and I'm just proud of her. And Michelle, great job. Let's see. And so there are a lot of folks in our district who do great things all the time, and there's always that risk of calling some folks out and then forgetting others, and so I take that risk. But I do want to congratulate Lisa Harper. She's a veteran English teacher at Murray Middle School, and she was selected as the Ridgecrest and District 5 Veteran of Foreign Wars VFW Teacher of the Year. And she was selected among a number of nominees, and we are so fortunate to have Ms. Harper as one of our own. She does a lot to obviously teach students, but she's also a leader in our district, serving as a department chair for many years and helping other teachers attain very high levels of fluency. So way to go, Mrs. Harper. Okay, moving on to just a couple other items. I have been reporting this year on COVID information to be transparent and to share the reality of the challenges we're dealing with in COVID management. The staff members that have tested positive for COVID in Sierra Sands, I mentioned there were 23 in the previous report last month and 20 more since then. So we have a total of 53 so far this year for staff members who have tested positive for COVID. And students that have been, so this isn't necessarily the number of students who have tested for COVID, but those who have been identified like in a contact tracing manner. Students that have been or are on quarantine study contracts, as of last month, we had a total of 758. Since then, we've added approximately 146. We still have some that we're still managing, and the number's probably a little higher. but as of reporting, 146 more, so a total of 904. And I'll keep reminding everyone that in a typical year, we have about 300 for the entire year of short-term study contracts. So if our trend continues to be the same for the rest of the year, we're on track for, approaching 2,000 study contracts by the end of the year. So it is a huge, it's important that we do this because that's a really important part of how we're managing the safety in our district and putting out those just countless hours of staff time and faculty time. But it is a huge burden on our teachers and our staff, and I just want to acknowledge that it's incalculable to describe how much work it is, and I just want to say that, and it's a very prominent part of our COVID mitigation strategies. Students positive at the site for contact tracing. I mentioned that we had 42 students in the previous report last month. There were more before that as well, and then 18 more since then. So we have a total of 81 students year to date who have tested positive for COVID. And just a couple other things. Something that's a really important thing for us is looking to the future, preparing for tomorrow, not getting so mired into the details of what we do all the time, which are the most important things usually. But among the most important things is also our strategy for sustainability, our strategy for serving our students, recruiting, retaining our own staff, recruiting and retaining citizens in our community. And I think most of us believe that a strong public school system is one of the most important aspects for a city to recruit and retain people. So we are forming a committee. We're calling it the Building Schools for Tomorrow Committee. Sierra Sands is reviewing its facilities master plan, and we would like to hear from the community about our current and future needs and potential solutions. Committee members will be invited to report on the outcome of the committee process to the Sierra Sands Board of Trustees, this body right here. And community member feedback will be valuable in determining how to move forward in addressing what our facility needs are. Topics for large forum and small group discussions include Sierra Sands facilities, fundraising opportunities, public information and opinion, and recommendations to the school board here. And so who are we looking for? We're looking for anyone with a connection to Sierra Sands, which is basically anyone in the Valley, parents, students, teachers and staff, residents, business owners, retirees, taxpayers. And so when and where would this be? It's a very focused and limited commitment. Tuesday, it would be 3 Tuesdays, January 25 through, I can't remember if it's 3 or 4. I don't want to misspeak, but it's either 3 or 4 Tuesdays, January 25 through February 16. And it's from 6 to 9 p.m. in the multi-purpose room of Monroe Middle School. And we are asking that participants who sign up to join us would plan to attend all those meetings. Really important that we do this, and we are considering all options for solving our problems and making sure that we promise our children now and in the future that they get the most up-to-date facilities that they deserve to learn in. There will be a lot of information going out, so you don't need to necessarily take notes from the meeting. We're going to have information going out on our Facebook page, Parent Square. We'll take out ads in our local media and our papers. But in case you are interested, all we need to know is if you'll email your name and address and your phone number and your connection to the district to Pam Smith, who's our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, so that'd be psmith@ssusd.org. And my last message is I heard some great reports from Hannah about great concerts, music concerts, and events that have happened the last couple of weeks, and I've really enjoyed attending those and witnessing the talent and the gifts that so many of our students have and are willing to share with us. And I just want to wish everyone a happy and healthy holiday season. I'll mention a couple. I'm going to actually send a message out to the community tomorrow, and I want to actually share it with everyone that throughout all of 2021, we have all been forced to adapt to a changing environment. In Sierra Sands, our constant focus has been on maximizing the student experience despite those realities of having to deal with the pandemic. And heading into 2022, our focus will continue on maximizing our students' experiences, whether it be in the classroom, on the field, in the music room, out on the terrain, running cross-country, whatever the case may be, as Dr. Houck had mentioned. And I just want to say that I realize that Sierra Sands holds a tremendous amount of trust in preparing our community's children for the future and for tomorrow, so to speak, and we take that trust very seriously. And we look forward to a better and brighter 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ostash. That brings us to item 4, report to the Board of Trustees by the Desert Area Teachers Association.
Board members, community, colleagues. I don't know how we're already at the end of the first semester. Here we are. It's a pretty stressful time of year. I feel like it should be festive. It's pretty stressful. Under normal conditions, it's stressful. Secondary, we're giving finals, but they're finals, that we've done based on what we've given them. That we've given our students, and the students have buy-in. It's stressful for elementary because, one, I don't know how elementary teachers do it, but they're actually expected to give their students CFAs and IABs this week. And my question is, are y'all aware of who's attending elementary school? Like, maybe you're not aware. They're the little ones. And I don't know how many of you have kids or have been around kids or have seen kids, but they get pretty excited this week. My seniors are excited. They're having trouble sitting still. But as I said, we've got minimum day, and we've spent all semester. They know that they've got finals. We talk about the finals. They're prepared for every time there's an end of a unit test that I give them. They're prepared just like my colleagues do. But we have elementary teachers being told they have to give IEBs and CFAs the week before a holiday. I'm a high school teacher, but I think that's really funny, and not in a good way. So we're tired. We're exhausted, and one of you mentioned that you hope that we all have that the year has been tough on everyone, and it has. It's been toughest. It's been toughest on the people who are with the kids every single day. And I know a lot of you are subbing and having to go into that classroom, and it's difficult for you. But being a sub is one thing. Being the adult standing in front of those kids day after day, we love it. We like doing it, and we're happy to do it, but we're exhausted. Our kids are exhausted, and we were promised SEL emphasis this year, and it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. You know what's happened? Testing. The week before Christmas break. That's what's happened. So we're exhausted. I sent out a survey to my members. Over 50% of us have thought about leaving either our careers or the district. Now, I don't think all of us are serious. Most of us really like it here, but we're going to hit a breaking point. Some of us already have. So what are our biggest issues? Not enough subs. That's a problem. Big behaviors in elementary. That's wearing us out. Poor communication regarding COVID and student apathy. Now, here's the thing. We have the big behaviors and we have the student apathy for a number of reasons, a lot of it due to COVID. We're doing everything we can, and even when our students are apathetic, we're still giving, and they're struggling. We don't want our kids struggling. We give a lot to keep our kids from struggling. We're taking it from them. We're trying to give them a break. Who's giving us a break? Who's giving us a break? We're supposed to use those 2 weeks when everybody else is enjoying the time. We're supposed to be recuperating. It seems wrong that I'm and my colleagues need a break after 4.5 months of work. That just seems It just seems wrong. Okay, let's see. We want, sorry. And finally, maximizing the student experience, which you mentioned, Dr. Ostash, and all of us are here, and all of us in education want to do that. But I don't know how that happens when teachers are exhausted. And there are a lot of words said about teachers being exhausted, but I don't see a lot of action. I don't see a lot of action on that. Just a lot of people saying you must be tired. We don't want to be tired. We like being in there with the kids, and we want to help those kids. It makes us happy. But when we get drained, what's left to give the kids? How are we going to maximize student experience? Testing them more? It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous, and I try every time I come up here to be happy and to be hopeful, and it's just a little bit hard right now.
Thank you. Brings us to item 5, report to the Board of Trustees by the California School Employees Association.
Hello, School Board President, Board members, Superintendent Dr. Ostash, staff, and community. CSEA's negotiating team has met with the district and continues to work on our solution for our subpar pay scale. Our members continue to voice their concerns with me about the pay scale and being overworked, as we have very little subs and are down employees in various classifications. We are also underpaid, as our scale has not seen an increase except for the cells that have been increased due to the minimum wage increase. We have received one-time stipends that I can say we're grateful for. However, we haven't, we've received the one-time stipends over the last few years that we are grateful for. We have not had an increase onto our pay scale. However, a one-time unpensionable stipend will help one time, but is not a sustainable solution for your employees. It is time that the district put in some time and effort into fixing our salary schedule. With doing so, we could attract more people wanting to work for the school district, but more importantly, keep the staff that we do have. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to item 6, communications from the public. The board will provide time during the discussion of each agenda item for members to the public to comment. At this time, members of the public may address the board on items that are not on the agenda. The comments should relate to items of public interest within the board's jurisdiction. The law prohibits the board from taking action on these items that are not on the agenda, but if appropriate, your comments will be referred to the staff for response. When addressing the board, please state your name and address at the podium and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. In accordance with the board bylaws, the board will limit the total time of public input to 30 minutes. Those wishing to address the board beyond that 30-minute time limit period may do so at the end of the scheduled meeting agenda. So I will open the microphone for public comment. Please step up to the podium. Thank you.
I wanted to start off with a couple of questions for Mr. Ostash, since I spoke with you at the last meeting beforehand. You had asked me for my personal information regarding my phone number, my email address. I had sent you twice now some Freedom of Information Act requests, and I've received no response, and I was just wondering why that is.
I'm glad you asked. I've actually replied both times that you sent your email, and I guess you're not getting them. So if you just swing by my office tomorrow, I'll print out those emails that I sent you so you can have the evidence of that, and then we can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Absolutely. Thank you. And my other issue is I was wondering where you guys are on the vaccine mandates for the children. I know there are several school districts in California who are currently not going to be mandating the vaccines for the children to have in-person learning. I was just wondering where you guys stand on that.
I don't have a comment on that right now. There is no student vaccine requirement for COVID at the moment, and we don't have any policy for that.
Well, I know come January they've implemented, Governor Newsom ordered that there be a statewide, as far as I understand.
That's been pushed off.
Okay.
If it happens, it won't happen no sooner than July 1.
Great, thank you.
Could you, Matt, can you state your name and address for the, thank you.
It's Karen Taggart. And the address is 1457 Leroy Street, Ridgecrest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have any other members of the public who'd like to comment at this time? If not, we will move on to educational administration. 6.1, approval of adult, child, and infant mannequins and AED trainers for health careers classes at Burroughs High School. Mrs. Decker.
Good evening, President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Ostash, staff and community. Career Technical Education, or CTE, is a program of study that involves a sequence of courses that integrates core academic knowledge with technical and occupational knowledge to provide students with a pathway to post-secondary education and careers. Burroughs currently offers 7 different CTE pathways. One of the pathways is patient care, which consists of 2 courses, Health Careers 1 and Health Careers 2. The Career Technical Education Incentive Grant, or CTIG, is a grant established as a state education, economic, and workforce development initiative to provide pupils in kindergarten through grade 12 with the knowledge and skills necessary to transition to employment and post-secondary education. California Education Code Section 53070A states that the purpose of this program is to encourage, maintain, and strengthen the delivery of high-quality career technical education, or CTE, programs. In 2020-21, Sierra Sands applied for and received a CTIG for $201,079. The patient care pathway is in need of new equipment. The Preston Adult, Child, and Infant Mannequins allow students to practice CPR. The Preston Mannequins are available with a revolutionary CPR rate monitor that allows for instant feedback to both the instructors and the students. The visual feedback from the CPR rate monitor gives students a real-life feeling of delivering 100 to 120 compressions per minute. Lights continually signal rate progression, confirming compressions are within the 100 to 120 CPM range, recommended by the industry guidelines. The yellow light will blink if the 120 CPM upper limit is exceeded, warning the students to slow down. In addition to the visual CPR rate monitor, students will also hear a clicker sound as the chest is pushed to the appropriate depth of 2 to 2.4 inches, allowing them to experience the true force needed to deliver real-life chest compressions. The mannequins are used to practice the skills necessary to perform CPR, which is considered a basic industry certification for employment in any health career. The WNL Products AED trainer is economical and compact enough to allow instructors to bring an AED trainer for everyone in the class. It provides a universal training experience that will prepare students to use a variety of different AEDs. Among its features are 2 pre-programmed scenarios, clear voice prompts, built-in English and Spanish language options, and a metronome. It is compatible with any type of CPR mannequin that is intended for AED training. The students will learn how to operate an AED to assist in delivering an electrical shock to promote a normal sinus rhythm. The cost of the mannequins and the AED trainers is $12,690.77 and will be funded out of the CTIG. It is recommended that the Board of Education authorize the purchase of the mannequins and the AED trainers for Burroughs High School patient care CTE pathway as presented.
Move recommended action.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments by board members? Any questions or comments by staff or community? I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? It is unanimous. Moves into item 2. approval of the Boss Laser HP-2440 laser engraver and cutter for the engineering, technology, and welding and materials joint career technical education pathways at Burroughs High School. Ms. Decker.
Okay. The background is the same, so I'm not going to repeat reading that. The particular pathways that are involved in this one are our engineering technology pathway and our manufacturing pathway. The engineering technology and welding and materials joining pathways are in need of a new piece of equipment. The laser engraver and cutter is tailored to users in different industries. It features flexible material processing, new and easy laser PC connectivity, HP sawtooth and knife blade platform, illuminated LCD for quick touch laser head control, inline beam combiner illuminates red dot for improved accuracy and alignment, and push button Z access. Capital outlay, which is defined as any single item of $5,000 or more, requires California Department of Education approval prior to the purchase. Purchases must meet the following requirements. They should be directly related to CTE programs approved for assistance in the LEA's local plan. They should be intended to improve, enhance, or expand the CTE program. They should be necessary and reasonable for proper and efficient administration of the CTE program. And they should also add to the district's historical inventory system. And they must be specific to the CTE program as opposed to a general expense required to carry out the agency's overall responsibilities. And the CDE approval for this particular piece of equipment has already been obtained. The cost of the laser engraver and cutter is $17,117 and will be funded out of CTIG. This includes the design software, the cooling system, the CO2 laser tube, the extended warranty, the air compressor, and the drive system. It is recommended that the Board of Education authorize the purchase of the laser engraver and cutter for Burroughs High School engineering technology and welding and materials joining CTE pathways as presented.
Move recommended action.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments by board members?
I just have one.
Yes,
Does that come with training also for the instructor?
Yes, always. Okay. That's
Okay.
part of the CDE approval. They ask whether they know how to operate the equipment, and if they don't, they always ask how we're going to obtain it. But yeah, anytime we buy anything big like this, the training's included.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments by board members? I guess I'd just like to comment that I find it really exciting when we have these kind of opportunities to give our kids this kind of experiences that can help them kind of find their way as they get into further life. And as I was told one time early in my career as a board member, sometimes these opportunities help them know what they don't want to do as much as it helps them to find out what they do want to do, and that's a really important decision-making process. So, any comments or questions from members of the public? Hearing them, we'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. It brings to item 3, adoption of Child Development Contract Resolution number 152122 for services in 2022-23. Ms. Decker.
Applications were made to the California Department of Education, or CDE, by Sierra Sands Unified School District to establish a state preschool at Inyakern Elementary in 1998, at Pierce Elementary in 2005, and at Fowler Elementary in 2009. Sierra Sands has contracted with High Desert Leap and Lizard since 2005-2006 to operate the district's state preschool programs. High Desert Leap and Lizards has been operating since 1982 and is a Title 22 center-based daycare for school-age and preschool children and is a California nonprofit corporation. The CDE requires the district to adopt a resolution which approves the contract for the state preschool programs at Fowler, Inyakern, and Pierce, and names the official who is authorized to sign the contract on the district's behalf. In order to meet this program requirement, the 21-22 resolution is presented for adoption to sign the continued funding application for 2022-23, so it's actually for next year's contract. There are no financial implications, and it is recommended that the Board of Education adopt the resolution authorizing the superintendent to sign the 22-23 state preschool contract.
Move recommended action.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments by board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public? If not, we'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Brings us to item 4, approval of Houghton Mifflin Harcourt K-8 Go Math Algebra 1 Geometry and Algebra 2 Instructional Materials Extension Period. Dr. Savko.
I like the sound of that. Good evening, President Ferris, members of the board, Dr. Superintendent Ostash, staff and community. In 2015, the Sierra Sands Unified School District Board approved the recommendation of Houghton Mifflin Harcourt Go Math for K through 8th grades and high school courses Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 in accordance with board policy and administrative regulation 6161.1, selection and evaluation of instructional materials. The term of the adoption concludes at the end of the 21-22 school year. As a result, consumable texts and digital resources also expire. To continue implementation of the 2015 mathematics adoption without interruption, a 3-year extension of access to materials is recommended to fill the gap between the 22-23 school year and probable local adoption process in 2025, pending the State Board of Education's approval of the updated draft 2022 Mathematics Framework for California Public Schools, kindergarten through grade 12. The Houghton Mifflin Harcourt proposal reflects a savings of $41,382 and supports a necessary 3-year extension of access to the adopted math curriculum. The Houghton Mifflin Harcourt proposal is approximately $625,595. The expenditures will be multi-funded with specialized funding sources including, but not limited to, GEAR, ESSER 2, and ESSER 3. It is the superintendent's recommendation to approve the Houghton Mifflin Harcourt K-8 Go Math, Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 Instructional Materials Extension Proposal as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions by board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public? We'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? It is unanimous. Brings us to item 5, approval of Educator Effectiveness Funds EFF Plan. Dr. Savko.
Thank you. On July 12, 2021, Assembly Bill 130, Education Finance, Education Omnibus Budget Trailer Bill provided $1.5 billion with a B to support the Educator Effectiveness Block Grant for California's K-12 schools. Sierra Sands Unified School District's EEF Block Grant apportionment is $1.3 million. The local plan for the EEF Block Grant must be heard in a public meeting of the governing board of a school district before its adoption in a subsequent public meeting on or before December 30, 2021. The draft EEF plan was presented at the regular Sierra Sands board meeting on November 18, 2021. EEF expenditures may be used to support professional learning for certificated teachers, administrators, paraprofessional educators, and certificated staff. Funds can be expended for any of the allowable purposes. The district's EEF plan identifies professional development for certificated staff in the 2 broad areas. EEF Area 3, engage students and accelerate learning, including but not limited to the following areas of focus: advancement via individual determination, or AVID strategies, professional learning community model to identify essential standards, develop common formative assessments, known as CFAs, and to implement and design effective academic intervention and or extended learning. Response to intervention, or RTI strategies, to identify and support learning needs through high-quality, evidence-based first instruction, progress monitoring, and tiered instruction. California Multi-Tiered Systems of Support, also known as MTSS, Universal Design for Learning Practices, Culturally Responsive Teaching, Literacy, Literacy across all content areas, and content-specific areas, ELA, Mathematics, Science, NGSS, History, Physical Education, and Virtual and Performing Arts. EEF Area 4, implements social-emotional learning, trauma-informed practices, suicide prevention, access to mental health services, and other approaches that improve student well-being, including, but not limited to, the following areas of focus: culturally responsive teaching, trauma-informed practices and care, restorative practices, student success or assistant team best practices, positive behavior intervention and support, also known as PBIS, alternatives to suspension, California MTSS, social emotional programs and curriculum, Panorama, a social emotional and behavioral screening tool, progressive discipline strategies and systems, school climate, and student engagement. The EEF plan will be aligned to district needs for professional development. The 1.3 EEF apportionment will be expended per the allowable use of funds from the start of the 21-22 fiscal year through June 30, 2026. It is recommended that the EEF block grant plan be approved as presented.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments by board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public or staff?
I have one.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Tim.
I just, listening to everybody talk and at CBS last weekend, there's a lot of social emotional learning stuff that everybody's talking about. It'd be interesting to see what our plans are for the next 4 years of getting that training for our teachers and students in the community. It's just a comment. It's not a direction, but just comment of what we're doing to use some of this money for that gap that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Hearing no others, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Brings us to item 6, approval of consulting services agreement with Ed Technology Funds Incorporated for emergency connectivity funds and application. And that would be Mr. Morrison.
Good evening, President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Ostash, staff, and community. The Emergency Connectivity Fund program, which is administered by the Universal Services Administration with oversight from the Federal Communications Commission, was established to help schools and libraries provide devices and connectivity to students, school staff, and library patrons during the pandemic. Congress established a $7.17 billion emergency connectivity fund as part of the recently enacted American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. Congress directed the Federal Communications Commission to promulgate rules providing for the distribution of funding for the Emergency Connectivity Fund to eligible schools and libraries for the purchase of eligible equipment and advanced telecommunications and information services for use by students, school staff, and library patrons at locations other than a school or library. Over the summer of 2021, the Sierra Sands Technology Department engaged our E-rate consulting firm, Ed Technology Funds, regarding the feasibility of applying for reimbursement of 1,200 Chromebooks, 800 private LTE Nokia customer premise equipment devices, and reimbursement for the monthly charges of up to 800 mobile hotspots. In early October of 2021, with the help of Ed Technology Funds, Sierra Sands applied for the ECF funding. On November 23, 2021, Sierra Sands was notified that our ECF application was approved for the purchase of 1,200 Chromebooks, 800 CPE devices, and reimbursement for up to 800 mobile hotspots, totaling $1,108,207.65 in approved funding. The consulting agreement between Ed Technology Funds and Sierra Sands was structured at 3% of total funding received, up to a maximum of $20,000. $5,000 was invoiced upon entering into the agreement, and the balance of $15,000 is now applicable since the $1.1 million has been approved by the USAC. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the payment of $15,000 to Ed Technology Funds for the support received in applying for the emergency connectivity funds.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any questions or comments by board members?
I just have one. I think
Mr.
that
Johnson.
$20,000 is a good investment to get $1 million back. So
Worked out pretty good.
that was
yeah.
good work.
I think pretty much whenever you find those, go ahead and bring those to us.
Yes, sir. I will be sure to do that.
Any other questions or comments by board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous.
Thank you.
Brings us to Personnel Administration.
Second.
8-1 and 8-2 have been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Brings us to General Administration, gifts to the district. Mr. Rockwell.
The following gift was received. Cheryl and Dan Warren made a cash donation of $900 to be used for Gentlemen's Club supplies and student rewards at Inyokern Elementary School. Donations provide support to the district and have a positive financial impact. I move that we accept the gift as described and send an appropriate letter of appreciation.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Questions or comments, members of the public? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Brings us to Construction Administration. 10.1, adoption of resolution number 162122 to enter into an agreement with Dave Bang Associates Incorporated for the purchase of Fowler Preschool Playground equipment pursuant to the One Government Procurement Alliance piggyback contract number 1804 PO2. Mr. Coit.
Good evening, President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent, Ostash, staff, and community. The district, in partnership with High Desert Leaping Lizards, has run a state preschool program at Fowler Elementary School since 2009. The program is required to provide adequate age-appropriate playgrounds for its students. The program currently uses the Fowler Kindergarten Playground and has received review feedback from the California Department of Education that the equipment is not age-appropriate for the preschool program. The district and HDLL would like to install a new playground that will separate it from the Fowler Kindergarten Playground, protect the playground sand from wind, and provide adequate outdoor play equipment for preschool children. Pursuant to Public Contract Code Sections 10290 and 10298, the governing board of the school district may, without competitive bidding, contract with suppliers that have been awarded contracts, master agreements, multiple award schedules, cooperative agreements, and other types of agreements with state agencies that leverage the state's buying power for acquisitions authorized under specific sections of the California Public Contract Code. District staff, in consultation with legal counsel, received and reviewed a proposal from Dave Bang Associates Incorporated for the purchase and installation of playground equipment for the Fowler preschool program. The proposal incorporates the terms and conditions established by the 1GPA piggyback contract number 1804P-02. Approval of the resolution will enable the district to contract with Dave Bang Associates Incorporated pursuant to the terms of the piggyback contract as permitted by the California Public Contract Code. The quote received from Dave Bang Associates for the purchase and installation of the equipment is $185,204.55. It will be funded by Fund 12, Child Development Fund. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the board adopt Resolution 162122 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments for board members?
I just have one.
Go ahead, Tim.
So we have preschools at Inyokern and Pierce. So did CDE say they need playground equipment also, or just Fowler?
They both have their own playgrounds.
Okay.
I'm sure they'll want to improve with time, but this one was the shared playground, and the equipment wasn't appropriate.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments from board members? Questions or comments from members of the public? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Brings us to item 2, approval of payment of Division of the State Architect fees and plan review for the new Richmond Elementary School. Mr. Coit again.
The district is anticipating a grant from the Department of Defense, Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation, for replacement of the Richmond Elementary School. The district has submitted an initial project proposal and is waiting for an invitation to apply for the grant. Once the grant is received, it will be necessary to submit the design documentation to DSA for review. DSA has changed their processes to include a project submittal appointment process. This allows the district to register for potential submittal 6 to 8 weeks prior to submitting the project for review. Fees are due for the project 3 days prior to the submittal date. In anticipation of receiving the invitation to apply for the DoD grant, the district has registered the project for submittal and has received estimated fee amounts. Approval of this board item will allow the district to pay the necessary fees for the project submission by the due date. However, the fees will not be paid until the invitation for the grant has been received from the Department of Defense. The estimated fees for the project are as follows: access compliance, $57,241.58. Structural safety fee of $344,174.18. Fire life safety fees, $50,159.65, for a total of $451,575.41. It is anticipated that 80% of those costs will be reimbursed by the Department of Defense grant funds, and the remaining 20% will be funded by Fund 40, Capital Facilities Fund. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve payment of DSA fees for the new Richmond Elementary School as presented.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any comments by board members? Questions or comments, members of the public? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Brings us to Business Administration, adoption of Resolution Number 17-2122 regarding the annual accounting of developer fees for the 2020-21 fiscal year.
Good evening, President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Ostash, staff, and community. Government Code Section 66001 and 66006 require public entities such as school districts who collect statutory school facility fees to make public and report to governing boards an annual accounting regarding the status of the account in which those funds reside. The board's adoption of Resolution Number 17-2122 and the two accompanying exhibits complete the district's compliance with the government code referred to above. This report is for the 2021 school year. The balances of Fund 25 are reflected below. I can read those if you'd like. We had a beginning balance of $640,780.66, earned interest of $9,285, collected additional developer fees of $786,958.12, had some expenses of $2,459 for county admin fees, and then $154,824.77 in expenses for remaining balance at the end of June of $1,279,798.42. There are some summary graphs attached to this board item for your review. The fact that both commercial and residential development is continuing is a positive sign for the district and the community. In 2021 as well as 1920, developer fees collected by the city continue to outpace those collected by the County of Kern. It is recommended that the board adopt Resolution Number 17-2122 and the accompanying exhibits as presented.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments by board members? Questions or comments from members of the community? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Brings us to, we're going to temporarily adjourn the meeting of the Sierra Sands Unified School District Board of Education to convene the meeting of the Kern Schools Financing Authority Board of Directors. The only item on the agenda is the review of the minutes. If there are no changes, they will stand as presented, and we will adjourn the meeting of this Kern.
Mr. President, we do have an item here that I need to.
Did I miss it?
Let me, item 3, acknowledgement of new officers. If you don't mind, and I'll read that.
Can we acknowledge before we elect?
Well,
where are we?
Let me see here.
Yeah.
think we can, because we're not saying the names, and it just indicates a process. I believe, if you'd like, I can read 3. Under current considerations for item 3, the Joint Powers Agreement for the Inyo Current Schools Financing Authority designates that the president of the Sierra Sands School Board shall be the chairman of the Board of Directors of the Inyo Current Schools Financing Authority, and the Sierra Sands vice president clerk shall be the vice chairman of the authority. The superintendent, as secretary of the authority, will recognize the newly elected officers of the Inyo Current Schools Finance Authority. And I suppose I could do that after we identify those new officers.
Okay, that should be appropriate.
Okay.
So that does not take specific action now, then?
Does not take specific action.
Okay, then I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting of the Inyo Current Schools Financing Authority to reconvene the meeting of the Sierra Sands Unified School District Board of Education to go to the consent calendar.
Second.
Consent calendar has been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. At this point, I will turn the chairmanship of the meeting over to Dr. Ostash to conduct the election of officers.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. As is the annual requirement and opportunity, at this time, I will ask for nominations for the office of President of the Board from now through the next organization meeting in December 2022. And
Mr.
so
Chairman?
at this point, oh, go ahead.
I would like to nominate Mr. Rockwell for that position. President.
Okay, I have a nomination for Mr. Rockwell. Any other nominations from anyone else, any other member of the board?
I have more kind of a question. I've seen over the years that we have, it rotates through, and we usually don't have one person stay president for multiple years. Bill, you've done, I think, a very good job for us during these trying times, and as long as we're still in that kind of a situation, I'd like to nominate Bill to be able to continue, if that's something that we're okay with as a board, having somebody continue for more than 1 year. Not to make it difficult, but it's meant as a compliment, Bill. And
I certainly appreciate it. So in recent years, we have kind of followed that tradition, but it is indeed just a tradition. It is an election that is open up for discussion and can be considered and discussed, and a vote will be taken at the end of that discussion. So.
And you could also turn down a nomination, right? You could. More. Again, the last time we were doing this, it was my first time up here.
Yeah.
So I'm still learning, but I'd like to nominate Bill to continue.
Okay, so we have 2 nominations, one for Mr. Ferris, one for Mr. Rockwell. Any other nominations? Okay, so
we close nominations.
Okay, we'll close nominations. And at this point, I'll take a vote by roll call. So, Mr. Ferris, how do you vote?
For Mr. Rockwell.
Mr. Rockwell?
Mr. Rockwell.
Mr. Johnson?
Mr. Rockwell.
Dr. Hauk?
I'm going to stick with my nomination. I realize I'm the minority, but again,
I appreciate the vote of
to recognize that, Bill. Thank you.
Okay, so at this point, it is 3-1. So Mr. Rockwell will serve as president of the board from now through the next organization meeting in December 22. Congratulations, Mr. Rockwell.
Congratulations to you.
Now, do I turn it back over to you
Nope.
to do the next?
Nope,
Okay,
you're-
so I will
you're-
move
you're the
to.
man.
I will now move on to item 14.2, and that is I will now ask for nominations for the office of vice president and clerk for the board from now through next organizational meeting in December 22. And at this point, I'll open the floor for nominations for vice president.
I'd like to nominate, if he's interested, Mr. Johnson.
Okay, I have a nomination for Mr. Johnson. Any other nominations?
I move nomination cease.
Okay.
Concur.
Do I need a second? I didn't do that the last time. I'm brushing up on my skills here. We only do this once a year.
We need a
All right,
parliamentarian.
okay, so we now have we have one nomination. Mr. Ferris, how do you vote?
I vote for Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Rockwell?
Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Johnson?
I guess Mr. Johnson.
Dr. Hauk?
Mr. Johnson.
Okay, so the vote is unanimous.
But
So,
you're not going to vote for me, Ted.
I know.
Mr. Ferris.
You know.
congratulations, Mr. Johnson. We'll move on to item 14.3, which is the election of board representative and alternative representative to the committee that elects members to the County Committee on School District Organization. Currently, Dr. Houck serves as representative and Mr. Scott serves as alternate representative to the committee that elects members to the County Committee on School District Organization. I will ask for nominations for representative and alternate representative to serve on the committee that elects members to the County Committee on School District Organization from now through next organizational meeting in December 2022.
I move we maintain the same officers.
I was going to say the same. I think since Dr. Huck did such a great job this last year, we want to keep him in that role for another year through these trying times. So.
Okay, so I think to be procedurally correct, I still need to ask Mr. Ferris how you vote.
I vote for my motion.
Okay. Mr. Rockwell?
Dr. Houck and Mr. Scott.
Okay. Mr. Johnson?
Dr. Houck, Mr. Scott.
And Dr. Houck? Okay. All right. So that's unanimous. Thank you and congratulations. And item 14.4. While my computer is thinking, it has been 100% tonight. While it's thinking, I know 14.4 is the election of board representative to meetings of the National Association of Federally Impacted Schools for NAFIS. So I will open up nominations for one board member to serve as the board representative for NAFIS.
Before I make a motion, I'd like to ask Mr. Johnson, you last year identified an interest in that position. Moving into the clerk vice president role, is that something you're still interested in as well, or?
Yes.
You are.
I nominate Mr. Johnson.
Okay, any other nominations? Okay.
Have we talked to Mr. Scott about?
I have not.
Unfortunately, he's not present,
Right.
so
Yep,
I can't speak for him. The part that did come up here that I wasn't able to see until my computer agreed with me was that the current considerations was that Mr. Scott currently serves as the board's representative to meetings of NAFIS, and then it opened a nomination. So we have a nomination for Mr. Johnson. Any other nominations? Okay. Mr. Ferris, how do you vote?
Mr. Johnson?
Mr. Rockwell?
Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Johnson?
Mr. Johnson.
And Dr. Houck?
Mr. Johnson.
Okay, thank you. The vote is unanimous. I will now turn the meeting back over to you, Mr. Ferris.
And I believe it's time to adjourn the meeting.
That is correct, unless there's a future agenda item.
Any future agenda items? If not, we stand adjourned. Thank you folks so much. I hope you all have a happy holiday. And thank you for attending tonight.